This is a podcast of 98FM's Dublin Talks. Remember, catch the show live Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. 98FM.
I want you to have a very close listen to what Babs has to say and tell me if you agree with this. Here's what Babs said in her message. I want to talk about something which is bugging the life out of me. I work in an office with 9 people. 2 of them are Lithuanian, 2 Polish, and I'm so sick and tired of them speaking to each other in their own language when myself and my colleagues are sitting there. It's so rude and obnoxious. I've gone to my manager to ask him to have a word with them, but he says there's nothing he can do. It's like they're talking about the rest of us, but not even behind our backs. They are working in a country where English is the first language, so they should at least have the decency to use that language. I have made digs at them about it, but they don't seem to care. I'm not a paranoid person, says Babs, but aside from it being rude, they could be saying anything about me or the rest of us. It's like whispering in a group. Speaking a different language in the workplace should be banned. End of story. Babs, please don't give out my second name. For obvious reasons, she obviously doesn't want to be blacklisted in her office. But there you have a woman who's in an office with 9 people. 2 of them are Lithuanian, 2 of them are Polish. They are regularly speaking in their native tongue for whatever reason. And Babs is not happy about it. She wants to see the speaking of I don't know how you would enforce this, but she wants to see the speaking of a different language in the workplace banned because she says it's intimidating, it's obnoxious, and they could be talking about her. I'd love to hear from you on this. 6797981. The lines are open to you now. 6797981, or you can text or WhatsApp your comments to 087 798 9898. If you are wherever you work in the workplace, if you have people who are foreign nationals and they're speaking their own language among themselves sometimes, does it bother you that much? Would you like your boss to be able to turn around to them and say, hey you, lady from Poland, for argument's sake, I don't want you speaking Polish again in the workplace. The workers are not happy with it. They don't want to hear it. Cut it out right now. 6797981. Text or WhatsApp your comments. 087 798 9898. Marta, you're on 98FM. How are you?
Hi, not too bad, thank you very
Now,
much.
you're from Poland yourself, is that right?
Yes.
But you have... Your English is perfect. Absolutely, I know that from only.
Not too bad. I pride myself on it. Yes.
And in the workplace where you work, do you speak your native tongue?
At the moment, I am not working, but I used to use my language depending on the situation. Now, like in my opinion, if you are in the company of people who don't understand your language and you can speak their language, obviously you should include everybody in the conversation as far as possible, depending obviously on the size of the group and you know what I mean. But was there ever a situation in the workplace where you were talking to another person who was Polish and you were talking in Polish when there were Irish people there? I used to work in a factory, so let's say it's not a very skilled work. It doesn't require a lot of education or, don't
put your job down. Every job, even my job, requires a bit of skill. Don't put your job down.
Well, look, I don't work there anymore, so I can say that now.
Oh, okay, it was a
just
kid.
a job. Yeah, no, but basically, it could be anybody from any walk of life, anywhere, really working in there. It didn't require very skilled English either. I'm not saying it didn't require any English because we had some paperwork in that factory that needed to be carefully filled in. But whomever worked in there had enough English to be able to do it because it was all checked before you were employed. And now, when I used to work in there, that was a good while ago. That was in, let's say, until 2007, from 2005. So that was when a lot of Polish people, a lot of Lithuanians came into Ireland in 2004 when European Union actually spread out to the east.
Yes.
So everybody was like in a bit of a shock of how many Polish people is here. How many Lithuanians?
And did the Irish workers ever complain about Polish people speaking in their own language?
In fact, they did.
Oh, they did. They made complaints.
We had
did they?
a conflict in my workplace.
Oh,
that was one of the reasons I left that job, because I was actually given a written warning for talking Polish. So, as far as I know, there was no tribunal. Who would pass like a ban on a language, who would justify a ban on language so far.
Okay, so
Like
there wasn't an official ban on the language, but you were told that it was causing issue among the Irish staff.
Basically, well, the thing is, the funniest thing, or not funny for me at that time, was that I spoke English as much as I could, but I had some Polish people who felt much more comfortable when we were talking just to each other to talk Polish to me. So I just followed the suit. It feels very unnatural, I have to say, that when you're just talking to another Polish person and you're Polish, to speak English just for the sake of speaking English, especially if it's not concerning work matters whatsoever. Okay,
stay there for a second, please, Martha. 6797981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp your comments to 0877 98 98 98. There's a huge interest in this already. Obviously, a lot of you have experienced this. If you've just joined us, we're talking about in the workplace when people... And by the way, her English is better than most of my mates' English, to be honest with you. Her English is absolutely perfect. But it seems to affect a lot of people. If you're in a workplace with someone who is foreign national and they're speaking in their native tongue, does it bother you? Should there be a workplace ban on it? John, you're on 98FM. How are you?
Good morning, Marion. How are you doing?
Grant. Now, what do you want to say about this, John?
I just work as regards the maintenance man in a school. And during lunch break or morning break time, I'd be there. And there's a few of the teachers, or even outsiders, come in and they'd be talking in Irish, and I'd get the impression from others around, and they're looking, what the hell are they talking about? What's the story?
Well, surely you knew it was Irish they were speaking, did you?
Oh, I did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know a little bit of Irish myself, not a whole lot.
And what did you think they were talking about you behind your back, or
no,
in front of you?
But others did. Others did in the canteen.
Is this an issue? Is it?
Pardon?
Is this an issue that they were?
There's maybe an issue with a couple of the people in the thing, because there's cleaners there and there's other staff, there's whatever, like, I'm maintenance, but these few come in and they're talking Irish in the thing, which they're quite entitled to do. It's their native tongue, as they say. And there's also Polish girl and a Lithuanian as well there, and I had noticed once or twice that they might take issue with the girls speaking in Irish, and one fella as well. It's strange.
So they had an issue with the Eastern European workers who were here had an issue with the other people speaking in Irish. That seems bizarre. Stay there for a second. Let me go to Kevin. There's a lot of calls on this. How are you, Kevin?
Jeremy, good morning. How are you?
Grant, what do you want to say about this?
Oh, look, that grinds my gears, all right? Look, no one's on an even keel when this is happening, okay? And it makes people paranoid. That's a human thing, all right? And when you like, I've worked in a workplace that it was more or less exactly the same as that lady who texted in, and it just makes, because it's the mannerisms, it's the looks, and it's the language, and you just naturally assume
it says
a paranoid thing.
It says on my screen here that if you don't want to speak English, go home, Kevin.
No, I never said that. No. I said.
Oh, you never said that. They're putting words in your mouth, then, obviously, yeah.
No, I told whoever took the call. I said, no, I'm not saying that. You're in a work environment. Majority of English speakers speak English. You got the job because you've got competent English. Speak the language. And whatever you do outside of the workplace, so be it.
But you believe that
everybody needs to be on an even keel. When words are being said, and it distracts people, makes people paranoid, and that's human nature. I never said go home. I said within the workplace, speak the language. That's the majority. Now, unfortunately, none of us are 100% Irish speakers, so that's out the window. So the second one is English. That's all I'm saying. And I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking the same
thing.
But
why does it bother you so much if you're in an office situation, if there's two members of staff there who are Lithuanian and they're chatting among themselves about whatever, why would that bother you so much?
If they're on a break, but they're in the workplace, if they're in their hour, if they're on their lunch break, whatever, so be it. As I said, within the working hours, speak English. That means everybody's on an even keel. Everybody can understand what's being said to and fro. God knows what's being said in front of your face. Right?
That's
No, I'm just saying,
paranoid, Kevin.
look,
that's a paranoid. They're not talking about
that's
you.
what I said. It makes people paranoid. That's what this guy just said. Like, there's people speaking Irish, and even the teachers in the school are being paranoid.
See, I think people like this. People like yourself are the same people that when you go to just somewhere like Spain on holidays or Portugal, you expect the waiter to have perfect English. We expect everybody to speak English.
No, not at all. But English is the most used language in the world.
Well, it's actually not.
Well, what is it?
Well, as far as I know, Mandarin is Chinese, and in second.
Okay, fair enough. Bigger country. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stand corrected.
But what I'm saying is this sort of arrogance among English-speaking people like ourselves that everybody should have to speak English all the time.
Within the workplace, I'm just saying within the working day. That's all I'm saying.
Stay there for a second, please, Kevin, and Martha as well. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp your comments to 0877 98 98 98. We're talking about foreign workers not speaking English in the workplace. Jeremy says this text: I threatened Chinese employees with the sack if they talked in front of customers, and it soon stopped. That's actually something that happened to me in a phone repair shop last week. I was in getting the screen fixed on my phone. I'm assuming they were Chinese gentlemen behind the counter, and I was standing there waiting for them, and they were speaking Mandarin or Chinese in front of me. I don't know what they were saying. Were they talking about me? Probably not. That's probably a bit paranoid. Was I annoyed about it? Not particularly, because as soon as he spoke to me, he spoke in English. Do you have a problem with this? And do you agree with Babs saying that it should be banned from the workplace? Mary, how are you?
Jeremy, how are you?
Grant, do you think Babs needs to get a life for herself, does she?
Well, that's her own problem, but come in and tell you, there's no harm in... What's the harm in them talking in their own language? Sure, if they're in... Just say if they're in a restaurant or they're in a shop or wherever, and you're trying to take an order, you don't understand the person, and the person beside you can speak their language and takes it without any bother. It makes the person feel more comfortable then, like, walking, like, the customer.
I guess it's paranoia, is it? That's the feeling that I'm getting, that people think that they're being talked about.
So when they're talking about you, they're leaving someone else alone.
So you think it's wrong to force them, do you?
No, they let them talk whatever way they want. If they're doing the work and they're good at their jobs, so be it.
Even if it's making workers like this girl Babs, even if it's making her paranoid?
Get over it. I don't know the situation the girl is in. I don't know. But me personally, it wouldn't bother me if they spoke whatever kind of language they like. If they're nice people, they're working with you, they're doing their job, what they're supposed to be doing. Okay,
stay there for a second, please, Mary. Melanie, it says in your text here that in the gym you work in, this was an issue with two Brazilian girls.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I was, like, the gym I work in, there were two girls there, obviously they're not Irish, you know, and so they were speaking their own language to each other in the canteen, even out on the floor, you know, when there's clients on the floor using the machines. And I just thought, like, you know, you're in my country, speak my language. So I did report them.
Speak Irish?
No, we are an English-speaking country. English. So I went to I'm a supervisor there. So I went to the person above me, and so we had a sign put up saying that you can only speak your English in the workplace.
I've seen those signs in other workplaces.
Yeah, and it's great. Like, but
I'm sorry, these two Brazilian girls, they were speaking Portuguese, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, why did it bother you?
Because one, you're in my country, go by my rules. Two, it's really, really rude. I wouldn't go speaking Irish to somebody and leaving them out. Like, it's all about manners. I wouldn't, like, I just don't know. I just wouldn't do it, and I was so annoyed with them over it. So I did report them, and they kind of, like, you know, and you get in the cold shoulder and stuff like that. But you're getting the cold shoulder. But I mean, that's just how it is. You just don't do it.
Okay, stay there for a second. Well, let me go back to Mary. She reported two Brazilian girls for speaking in their own language.
Mary, what happens, like you said there a few minutes ago, right? What happens to all the people that go on holidays? What happens if that girl goes to Brazil? Does she expect people to speak English back to her, even though they don't speak any foreign language over there anyway?
Well, Melanie, I don't know. Have you ever been
That's a really stupid question.
Have you ever been to Brazil, Melanie?
No, I haven't.
Do you know what language? Do you know what language they speak in Brazil?
Yeah, they speak Portuguese.
Yes, they do. Can you speak fluent Portuguese?
No.
Okay, so if you were to go to
If
Brazil...
I'm on holidays, I don't expect people to speak English to me. If people are over here working and employed by somebody who's an English speaker, a company which is an English speaking company, then absolutely I expect you to speak English. And if I were a manager, I would say, if you're not going to speak English, get out of my shop or get out of my gym.
Yeah, but what happens if you go over there, you got a good job over there, wherever the job, doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, but how do you know that she's not saying things, that they're not saying things about you?
But so what? Doesn't matter. Let them.
But why should we let people be so rude? They're not even from this country.
Rude.
So
if they don't understand what they're saying, how can they be rude?
The way we want them to speak.
Yeah, okay. These two girls, you felt that when they were they speaking in front of the gym clients in Portuguese, or were they
not really? Kind of between themselves. Like, they wouldn't be standing, like if one was, let's say, doing weights with one of the clients, and there wouldn't be another one standing talking to her in Portuguese. But even I just think even in the canteen or in the hallways, if they're passing and they'll say something in Portuguese, I actually said to one of them before, I said, sorry, if you're not going to speak English, I really don't think you should be here, because you're over in my country. You should be speaking my language.
It's a bit OTT, isn't it, Mary?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's OTT. I mean, if I went and worked over in Brazil or anywhere else, or France or Italy, I would expect to have to speak their language. It's just the height of ignorance. I'm sick of foreigners in Ireland thinking that they own this country because they live here.
But they don't think they own it. Speaking in your own language doesn't mean you own the country. Stay there for a second, please, Mel. There you go. In her gym, two Brazilian girls speaking Portuguese were told to shut up or put up. Let me go to Fernando. How are you, Fernando? Or Fernanda? Sorry.
Hiya.
How are you, Fernanda? Now, where are you from?
I'm Brazilian.
Oh God, this is going to be awkward then. So you're a Brazilian. You couldn't make this up. You're a Brazilian.
No, I kind of with Betsuasha. What's her name? The last one.
Her name is Mel.
Mel. Yeah, it's a bit OCT, and I don't even know the word to use, like my country, my rules. That's not on. That's not wrong. But I do agree with her that people, those intend to. Some foreigners, those intend to take over, because I'm Brazilian. Irish still very quiet and polite, maybe should I say?
But sure, the gas thing about the Irish, the gas thing about the Irish is they went everywhere to get jobs. That's the gas thing about the Irish. I don't want to know what company you work for, but what type of job do you work at, Fernanda?
I am beautician.
So you're what? Beautician. And in your salon where you work, are there any other Brazilian people there?
No, there isn't.
Okay, so
that's what there is so many Polish. That's what I'm trying to say. When I'm socializing, obviously the Brazilian community here is so big.
It's huge Brazilian community, yeah.
Yes, huge. If there is 3 Brazilian and 7 Irish, the Brazilian takes over. We're just talking, we're loud and we laugh, and you see the Irish going down, because they don't know what we're saying. They don't know what's going on. Maybe we're not even talking any subject, but we laugh for silly things, and just the louder that we are seems just to take over.
Okay, can you understand why Melanie is intimidated the wrong word to use, Melanie? I don't know.
No, I'm not intimidated. I just think you're in my country. Speak my
language.
Yeah,
totally intimidated. Totally intimidated. That is the word. There is no other word. Just because if you don't care, you won't mind. The girls is to work in the hall. They're talking between themselves. Not even talking with customer, no one. So that's totally intimidation. You probably don't realize, but it is. But what I learned when I'm socializing, because I don't work with the Brazilian, try not to speak Portuguese. It's really hard when we...
Yeah, I don't care. Like, I really don't care if it's really hard. You're in my country, so speak my language.
That's not your country. It's not called Melanie Land. You know what I mean? It's Ireland.
Okay, but you know what I mean. If you're not going to speak the language, then go back to Brazil or go to Portugal.
Melanie, you never lived in a foreign country. You never lived... I doubt that we speak any other language. So if you did,
you would
realize that how easy are you to speak your own language? Just comes natural.
Yes, and in other words, Melanie, if you went for a job, hopefully in South Korea or somewhere like that, or China, okay, yeah, and you got a job in a gym in South Korea, yeah,
Yeah.
would you be able to speak the native language?
I would make it my business too. So Miss Brazil over there she has no argument at all. She's basically, why is she putting this back to me? I don't want to go and work anywhere else.
But if you listen to her carefully, she's actually agreeing with you. Let me go to Leroy. Leroy, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
Jeremy, how are you? I love the show.
Thanks very much. Now can you take me off speakerphone if that's okay?
No problem.
Okay, if you love the show that much, take me off speaker. I hate speakerphone. Now you are an employer, is that correct?
I'm an Irish employer. We have 4 Irish lads.
Leroy, I'm going to have to get you. Can we get Leroy back there because it's an awful line? Let me go to Ina. How are you, Ina?
Hiya, not too bad.
Now, Ina, you are Dutch, is that correct?
Yeah.
And I presume if you're listening to this show and you understand what's happening here, your English is quite good.
I think it's all right, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all right. Geez, you even having a Dublin accent there. I think it's all right. Do you speak Dutch in the workplace, or are there any other Dutch people that are working there?
There's quite a few Dutch, but actually, we only talk, when we switch to food talk, back from our country, it's just impossible to talk about that in English because it's just awkward.
Yes. Okay.
So that's about the only time we do that.
So there are times where you do speak in your own language in the workplace?
Yeah, it's just small talk though. There's no way we'd have a conversation in Dutch when there's other people there.
Why? Is it because it's rude?
Yeah, I think so. And it's just weird to talk another language when other people are there. But I don't have an issue when other people do though. As long as if I talk to them, they speak back to me in English, I'm fine.
And can you understand why Irish people, not every Irish person, but why Irish people are getting upset about this? I want to read out a message here. Maybe we can get this person on the line. Mel is dead right. It's pure bad manners when they can't speak English. Now, that person can't even spell manners. So you're talking about this person's given out about people not speaking English, and they typed manners, MANORS. So you have very little leg to stand on, to be honest with you. But can you understand the paranoia here?
Well, I think it might be a bit of insecurity, and people are not used here. Everybody speaks English, so they're probably not used to how it is to learn another language. Sometimes it can be a relief to just talk to someone a little bit in your own language.
Absolutely,
you're dealing with English all day.
Well, Mel, can you not understand?
Oh my God, my blood is literally boiling. It's bubbling listening to her. It might be a bit of a relief. Honey, if you can't speak the language, don't be in this country.
She can't. She can't speak the language. She's perfect English.
My English is all right, though. Thanks.
Your English is actually perfect, Ina. Perfect.
English.
She is speaking English. She's able.
Yes, but she says it's a relief to speak in her own language. If you want to go and speak in your own language, darling, go home and do it all you want. But if you're here and you're working for a company in Ireland, then you can speak the language. This is our country, and you should.
I think the people do speak
properly.
English all the time. It's just a bit of small talk in between each other.
To be honest with you, Ina, I think your English is absolutely flawless. But I do understand that it can be tiring after a while. The fact that you can actually have a conversation with somebody on a radio show in Dublin on 98 FM, that you can actually have a debate with somebody in another language is amazing to me. It really is. Stay there for a second. Let me go to one last call. Back to Leroy. You're an employer, Leroy.
Jeremy, how are you? You got cut off that time.
Well, no, you did. I cut you off because I couldn't hear a bloody word you were saying. Now
we were on site there. There's a bit of an echo in the houses, you know.
Okay. Now, you are an employer. I assume it's some sort of building contractor or something like that?
Yeah, we're a painting contractor in Dublin, yeah.
And you have a lot of foreign staff working for you from all over the world, I assume?
We have 4. We have 2 Lithuanians, 1 Polish and 1 Estonian, and we 4 lads. Or homegrown lads.
Geez, it must be like the Eurovision Song Contest on that building site there with all those countries. And do they speak in their own language?
They do on the break, and the Polish and the Lithuanian guys, they're able to communicate to each other neutrally, sort of. Did you get me?
Yeah.
The Estonian lad, he's a bit lost half of the time, but he's a good walker. My blood was boiling with Melanie, actually.
Yeah, but that's just typical Irish. It's English speaking attitude, to be honest with you, Leroy. That everybody, these are the same people that get upset. They go to well, not Spain, I suppose, but they go to somewhere like Argentina on their holidays, and they go into a restaurant in Argentina, and they expect the waiter to be able to speak English. It's arrogance. That's what it is. Ina, I'm going to give you the last word as a Dutch person, and I want you to say in Dutch, thank you for listening to 98 FM.
Heel erg bedankt voor het luisteren naar 98 FM.
Yeah, what she just said. Thanks very much, Ina. Oh my God, that must be a difficult language to learn. Did you? That just to me just sounded like a big mumble. It really did. I can't believe that girl, Melanie. She needs to get over herself. The girl can't even speak a second language. Get her marbles out of her mouth. I agree with Mel. Says, what's this fella's name? John. In the workplace where I work, in a sorting office, there are several people who speak in Eastern European languages, and it really makes me feel left out. Thank you very much for all your calls, your comments and your texts.
This is a podcast of 98FM's Dublin Talks. Remember, catch the show live Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. 98FM.